Director Walker, we're glad you're here this evening. If you would, appreciate if you would introduce your late guest and.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chairman Pridemore. I'd like to introduce my administrative assistant to my left, Yvonne Ogren, and to my right is the Vice Chair of the Historical Commission, Jim Forcum. And with me are members of the Metro Historical and Metro Historic Zoning Commission. They are Clay Bailey, Jim Hubler, Mark Rogers, Renee Bell, and Rose Cantrell. Welcome. And I wanted to start out by saying how much I and both the commissions appreciate the past support Council's given us.
Thank you. And before you get started, naturally there's one question we need to ask, and that is, can you operate within the mayor's proposed budget?
Certainly we can operate within the mayor's proposed budget.
Very good. Thank you. And if you'd like, just go ahead and give us an overview of your proposed budget and allow the council to discuss that.
Okay, happy to do that. I want to first start to talk about our work in the past year. The Metro Historical Commission, we've been proud of our accomplishments in the last year. We hosted our 4th annual Old House Fair and co-hosted with Tennessee State University the 34th annual African American History and Culture Conference. We held our 40th annual Preservation Awards program, approved 4 historic markers, and approved National Register nominations for RCA Studio A and the Grand Ole Opry House. We've overseen the repair of monuments and gravestones at the Nashville City Cemetery. We've worked with the Davidson County Historian and the Nashville Public Library and Metro ITS to set up the framework for the Nashville Online Encyclopedia, which we expect will launch this fall. And working with the state historian in the Middle Tennessee American Institute of Architects chapter, we've completed editing and photography for our publication, Nashville, A Guide to the City, which will be released by the University of Tennessee Press in August. We've sponsored more than 24 history programs and tours this year, including our Lunch and Learn series and the Nashville 101 classes held at Fort Negley Visitor Center. And working jointly with Metro Parks, we've begun the process to make repairs at Fort Negley and completed an interpretive plan for Fort Nashborough. We continue to work with Metro departments to evaluate and protect our county's historic resources, most visibly through the Metro Planning Commission's 2040 General Plan Update, known as Nashville Next, through MDHA's Redevelopment District Design Review process, and through capital improvement projects with Metro Parks, Public Works, and Metro Schools. We also continue to partner with local nonprofits to promote tourism in our city's rich history, culture, and architecture by co-sponsoring events with the Nashville City Cemetery Association, the Tennessee Historical Society, the Nashville Zoo at Grassmere, the Buchanan Log House, Historic Germantown, Friends of Two Rivers Mansion, and Friends of Fort Negley, among others. And moving on to our budget, in the coming budget year, we're anticipating several challenges for the department. Obviously, over the last several years, our workload has significantly increased, not only due to the expanded programming of the Metro Historical Commission, but also due to the popularity of historic zoning overlays, a tool that manages growth while protecting our city's architectural character. During this time, the number of properties reviewed by the Metro Historic Zoning Commission has increased by over 70%, with the designation of 9 new districts and the expansion of 8. In addition, the number of projects reviewed and permitted has increased by 80%. And although we continue to look for ways to work more efficiently, the turnaround for review and issuing of permits is being impacted by this increased workload. To close, as always, we continue to look for ways to reduce cost and work more effectively while providing quality service to residents as we work to preserve our history, our significant places, and our neighborhoods. Thanks.
Thank you. We now open up for questions. Councilman Anthony Davis.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Tim, so much for being here. Appreciate all your hard work. I know you've done really well, more with less, as we say, than a lot of folks. We've talked a lot about the need for a new position. I think everybody in the room knows I'm adding on the wish list, Mr. Chair, $75,000 for one full-time FTE for the commission. And the reason for this is, as you've said, the workload has increased so much. A lot of us have been wanting these conservation overlays. I mean, there's the historic overlays. I think the conservation overlays are maybe even more popular, which with the development creates so many reviews over and over for you guys. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So, as we want to continue adding, and of course, we don't want to add overlay after overlay in our city, but there are certain areas and pockets that just have not been able to be added to, and we want to continue to expand some of our overlays as well. So, Mr. Chair, I'll be adding that to the wish list. We did do the audit, that obviously, I believe said that we need it, if I'm correct. So, with that request, again, I appreciate you guys, and we've got some work to do in the urban core on some of these protective zones. We know that's going to keep piling on the work for you guys, and so hopefully that'll set us up for a good long run of adding a few more and having more permits reviewed by your staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council Lady Weiner.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. I ditto Councilmember Davis. That was number one. You stole my thunder on that, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. I do have another question, though. What is the cost to digitize in your office? I know that you had one of your goals is the need to improve technology and move towards digitizing. What would the cost for that be?
We've not actually looked at, as far as you're talking about existing records we have on file. We're doing that with interns now. In fact, we have 2 interns as part of the Metro annual project with high school students, seniors in high school that are starting in another week, and they'll be doing some of that work. We have an intern now who's a senior at Georgia Tech who's doing some of that work. So we're doing it in that way right now as we need it. But we haven't looked at the cost of that.
And your IT needs in the office, other than the digitizing piece, your IT needs are up to speed where they need to be? Or if I could wave a magic wand, what would it be?
Well, we're in the process of taking care of a couple of those things noted in the audit, specifically the fiber optic connection, which will increase our speed at the office. And we're going to be getting tablets also that will help with the survey work and the inspection work that goes on each week.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Scott Davis.
Now, just for the record, this is my opinion, not the Metro government's, not this council, not the mayor's office, but mine alone.
Well, it's on the record.
Okay. And you'll understand why I made that statement.
No, I don't. No,
You will in a second here. Well, the last 4 years, I've been fighting to preserve 3 historical sites with this young man up here. Now, in the middle of fights with large-scale corporations, being taken to court and being subpoenaed, when certain parties have lawyers that work for free, and when you have a corporation that's very large that has endless amounts of dollars. I am doubling down with my East Nashville brothers. They need the additional staff. I would like to add that to the wish list also and support his motion. But more importantly, right now, we are trying to preserve 3 of these. We're almost done saving 1, which took 3 years after a large fire to get it done, dealing with that large corporation and that other entity that has an attorney that works for free. And I'm not kidding. Those of you who've been around for a while know what and who I'm talking about. And that's why I made sure to say this is my statement and not anybody dealing with this city and not the Historical Commission. But I have gone into some battles. Without the help of this Historical Commission, it would have been a more tragic outcome. And we need to add this staff member. And I can go in more detail, Mr. Chair, afterwards, just so that nobody gets sued or dragged into court. But we need to add this staff member. Thank you.
Well, since you've said it's your opinion, you'll be the one to be dragged into court. But
I'm already
Councilman Tigard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tim, on the areas that have conservation historic overlays, Are there any fees paid administratively to you all to administer the extra work that's done?
There are not.
And I know I'm in the contrarian position that, increased property values, and I understand all of that, but there's obviously a workload created and a service performed for those folks that choose to live or to seek that protection in their neighborhood. And for the life of me, I don't understand why there's not an add-on fee, a small additional to cover your staff so that we don't have to come up here and try to, beg, borrow, and steal from other departments to find you the personnel necessary to administer these important positions. Would you care to editorialize on that?
Well, I do know that the administration worked with us to look at adding a fee 4 or 5 years ago, and we were open to that. We took it to the Historic Zoning Commission, and they were supportive of that. We're still supportive of that. I know the cost to set that up, I don't know what that will be, but we talked to Terry Cobb in the Codes Department. They would take the money there when they got their codes fee, so we wouldn't have to handle that in the office. It would be very streamlined. And so we're still open to that.
Interesting. Could I ask the deputy mayor, since he has shown a willingness to discuss things today, and it's always a joy to have Mr. Highnote here, to give us your thoughts on that, perhaps, as to pros and cons?
I don't remember, Councilman, what we did 4 or 5 years ago exactly, Tim, but my colleagues here were reminding me that when we looked at it originally, it was a very small amount of revenue generated. And do you remember what the amount was, Tim?
At that time, it was probably about $20,000.
Yeah,
I think.
whatever we looked, we'll go back and look at it again, but.
And I'll add, in your defense, that was right during the downturn, and
Right.
there was a lot of concern
But as
about adding a fee.
more areas are
Right.
added, that fee would only grow, and if we can produce the revenue to support the person assigned particularly to that area, it looks to me like that would be a no-brainer. Tim, we've also talked in previous years about a nonprofit arm of Historic Commission that other cities have that raise funds and corporate dollars and whatnot, so that when the endangered buildings that Councilman Davis just described come on the market or are available, we don't have to rely on somebody's goodwill or whatnot if it's something clearly important to this government. Any progress on establishing that nonprofit arm? And I think I even made the bold statement, I'd write the first check as soon as you set it up. No one's come to ask me for that check, so I assume it's not functioning.
It actually is functioning.
Well, I saved some money then.
It's been in place for 2 years, and certainly there has to be some separation between government, as we are advised by legal,
Right.
and the nonprofit, but they're beginning to raise money. They've actually funded a lot of great projects. They helped to fund the interpretive signage that's going out at Buchanan Station Cemetery. We actually got a grant from the Tennessee War Commission to fund the great part of that. They made up the difference. They made up the difference for the National Register nominations, one for Bluefields in Councilman Claiborne's district that's currently contracting being done, the other two in Inglewood and Councilman Davis's district. They funded several $1,000s to make up that difference because the bids came in over what the grant was. They helped to pay for the reinterment of the African American cemetery at Grassmere. So they're doing a lot of good projects like that.
Is there an emphasis on a purchasing fund, to actually purchase and preserve historic properties?
Well, there is through Historic Nashville. They started that sooner, and they're really recently through the, I'm trying to think, the Big Give. That may not be the name of it. I'm trying to think of the
Big Payday or Payback or whatever, yes. Community Foundation.
They specifically raised a few $1,000s toward that fund, and they're growing that now. It's a long way from really having the purchase ability, but they're really starting aggressively to build that, and we're trying to assist in any way we can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Tiger. Councilman Westerholm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Walker, appreciate you being here and appreciate all the work that you and your staff do, and appreciate the commission members for being here as well. Just want to also echo my East Nashville Council colleagues and my support for trying to get you guys the staff need, because we understand with all the pressure of infill, with the expansion of historic districts as we're contemplating. I know that I've had 4 that we've expanded over in District 6, and I think that those have been something that the neighbors have been very appreciative of, and I think it's added to the character of the area. Just a quick question, or opportunity for comment, I suppose, on the goals. Could you talk a little bit more about the Nashville Encyclopedia, as well as a little bit more about the open data portal, and what sort of opportunities that might provide us for community outreach, for people interacting with historic properties around the city?
Certainly. We're excited about the Nashville Online Encyclopedia. It's mainly living in the Nashville Public Library right now. We're assisting with the writing of articles and assisting with the new editor and the staff person that are on salary with the library right now. It's a short-term position, but hopefully there'll be funding to continue that. And there is great opportunity. The hope is that will launch as an initial first phase in the fall. It might be completed in another year, and it will certainly be a great resource for not just students, but for adults, university students, higher education, because the Davidson County historian, Carol Busey, who would be here, but she's in Sweden visiting her daughter right now, who's just had a second baby. But she's been working very hard, set a very high standard for that, and I think there's great opportunity for that. As for the open portal, you probably know some of that we're working closely with IT and looking at all kinds of possibilities, including the sit-in movements, trying to do something, talking about that history, but historic markers, that's already up. We're looking at putting all the National Register listed properties and that information up. And again, it's just another great resource for the community to interact and gain information. And, for us to send people there as opposed to having to do the research and spend time doing that in-house. Thank you.
Council Lady Allen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say, as a beneficiary of the historic staff's help with expanding two historic districts in my District 18, but also as someone who had to wait in line, to make sure that there was time for it, I just want to echo the appreciation we would have if another staff person could just lighten that load and get to things as people are waiting to have them happen. So y'all have done a great job, and I know you're running ragged trying to keep up with everything, and it's made Nashville a better place to preserve all these wonderful historic neighborhoods. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Claiborne.
I'll just be very brief since I'm the last one here, I assume. And I just wanted to add my appreciation to all the other things. I appreciate the efforts that you have made in my district over the past several years with the Friends of Two Rivers, Buchanan Cemetery, and a couple of other things. And so I know how hard your department works. I know, that you don't have the manpower to really do what you need to do effectively, and so I'm very supportive of the request that's been made here, and I just wanted to thank you for all your assistance to me personally as a councilman of District 15 and the things that we've done there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And why do you think you're last? Councilman Hager.
I don't talk a whole lot. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One quick question. I know a lot of the new planning and zoning we're doing, we've got a lot of people coming in here tearing down some of the older buildings and things of that nature. And one question I want to ask, was there ever a move on like they did up at the Wilson County Fairgrounds where they took the Filler's Grove and moved buildings and old historic buildings to a different site to preserve them?
Not that I know of. To my knowledge, in the history of the office, I've not heard that. At least I've never been approached about it.
Okay.
As a site or buildings that might be moved there.
Have you been to Filler's Grove in Wilson County?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just wonder if something was ever implemented in that regards, but it might be considered.
Certainly. We absolutely take it under consideration.
Councilman Tigard is last.
Well, what an honor. I just wanted to say the internal service fees that we paid on air conditioning today could have funded this position, or we could explore hanging meat or beer kegs in the back based on the temperature of this room. So,
Thank you. Mr. Walker, and we certainly appreciate you being here, and we thank you for your comments, thank you for your presentation, and looking forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Don't be about to shake your hand, Councilman. Thank you.